Hello everyone, it's time for chapter 7 of the story The Man in the Iron Mask. Chapter 7, The King's Birthday Party. Let's revise chapter 6. D'Artagnan sat alone for a while. On his way, he met the Countess de la Valliere, who helped him by hiding him in her carriage. D'Artagnan also used her cloak and hat in order to disguise. When Fouquet passed their carriage, he couldn't recognize D'Artagnan as he was in disguise. The Countess de la Valliere told D'Artagnan that her daughter, Louise de la Valliere, was fond of him. Then D'Artagnan left the carriage and he went to the king's tailor to tell him to make another set of clothes for the king. When he was there, Fouquet came with two of his soldiers. He told D'Artagnan that he sent every spy in Paris to look for the traitors, and also he offered a big amount of money, which was 5,000 gold louis, for the one who could find the traitors. He also ordered D'Artagnan to go on searching for the traitors. About chapter 7, we will start with the new vocabulary. The first word is grunt. Grunt, it's a verb. It means to make a short sound or say a word in a rough voice. Ballroom. Ballroom, it's a very large room for dancing on formal occasion. Tension. Tension means stress. Imposter. Imposter, someone who pretends to be another person to trick people. Guarantee. Guarantee means promise. Release, to free something or someone. Alive. Alive, not dead. The incidents of chapter 7. It was the morning of the king's birthday party. People who worked in the palace were all busy preparing for the king's party. The busiest people were the kitchen staff. They were very busy preparing the food, and also they were making a huge cake that can hold 30 candles for the birthday. Also, the guardians were very busy. They were preparing or cutting flowers which were put in the king's throne, around the throne, and in the ballroom and in the corridors to celebrate the king's birthday. It would be the event of the year. Noblemen and noblewomen were coming from all over France to be there. How old was Louis going to be on his birthday? He was going to be 30 years old. A cart carrying large baskets of fruit arrived at the palace gates at about 9 o'clock on the morning of the party. What was strange about this cart, we will see. Porthos was the driver of the cart. He tried to hide much of his face, or by other words, he tried to disguise by putting on a wide hat and a long blonde mustache. Porthos told one of the musketeers guarding the gate that he had baskets of fruit, of the finest fruit, for the king's party. The musketeer or the guard didn't let him enter the palace without a pass card. Porthos told the musketeer or the guard that he wanted to see Captain D'Artagnan, as he is a friend to Captain D'Artagnan. The musketeer was surprised. How could a man like this man be a friend to the captain? Anyway, the guard called the captain. D'Artagnan knew that the driver was Porthos. What did D'Artagnan feel when he saw Porthos? Of course, he was very glad that his friend was still alive, not dead. And also, their plan was going on. They pretended they knew each other. How? They pretended that the driver works for a tavern which D'Artagnan used to visit. As we said before, tavern means a little hotel or a small inn. D'Artagnan ordered the guard to let the driver with his cart in to enter the palace. What did Porthos have in the baskets of fruit? Of course, he didn't have only fruit in his basket or in his cart. He has Athos, Aramis, and Philippe were hidden under the fruit. D'Artagnan hadn't been told the details of the plan. All he knew was that one of the many secret passages that led to the king's rooms came from the cellar. So he could expect their plan to put Philippe in Louis' place. What was their plan to put Philippe in Louis' place? Porthos, Aramis, Athos, and Philippe would enter the king's room through the cellar secret passage. Passage means way. Tie Louis up and take him down to the cellar, leaving Philippe in his place. Of course, it sounded easy, but there were two problems. The king wasn't often alone, and he was well guarded. So how can they put Philippe in his place? Or how can they make the exchange? At about 6 o'clock, Andre, which is D'Artagnan's assistant, came to D'Artagnan and told him a very strange thing. What was it? He told him that the fruit cart was still outside the cellar, but its driver wasn't found anywhere. So the strange thing that Andre told D'Artagnan about, that the fruit cart was found outside the cellar, but its driver was missed. They couldn't find him anywhere in the palace. D'Artagnan was about to laugh, or pretended to laugh. He told Andre that the driver of the cart was harmless. It means that there was no harm of him. Of course, he pretended that he knew him. He is his friend. He might be in the kitchen or asleep somewhere in the palace. D'Artagnan was worried about Andre. Why? He was worried that Fouquet could pay Andre to keep an eye on him. D'Artagnan thought that every man had its or his price. D'Artagnan could buy him to be an eye on D'Artagnan. King Louis and Fouquet asked for D'Artagnan. They wanted him in the king's room. Of course, D'Artagnan was worried about the plan. King Louis was worried as D'Artagnan hadn't caught the traitors yet. Why haven't you caught these traitors? Fouquet asked D'Artagnan. They are clever men and well trained. I should know, D'Artagnan answered. I don't believe you are trying hard enough, said Fouquet. I'm doing my best, said D'Artagnan. So they were fighting or quarreling in front of the king. Your best isn't good enough, shouted Fouquet. King Louis stopped Fouquet and said that he trusted D'Artagnan was doing his best and asked him him to be extra careful, especially on his birthday party. He may be harmed or killed by anyone that could hide in the crowd. King Louis ordered Fouquet and D'Artagnan to leave him alone because he wanted to get ready for the party. But first, he wanted to have a short rest for 10 minutes. What was D'Artagnan thinking about at this time? He was thinking about their plan. It was the perfect time to make the exchange. The king is now alone. His friends can enter the king's room through the secret passage that came from the cellar and put Philippe in his place. But he has no contact with his friends at this time, so he couldn't inform or tell them about this big chance for them to put Philippe in his place. But he waited to find what will happen. After they left the king's room, Fouquet said, "I have my eyes on you, D'Artagnan." Of course, he was very angry. D'Artagnan said nothing and moved away. It was now 9:30, time for the party. All the guests were waiting for the king, who was the first one to start the dance. It was their tradition that the one who will start the dance, or the first one to dance, was the king. The king would choose to dance with Queen Marie-Therese, his wife, or his mother, Anna of Austria, or even with his favorite lady, Louise de la Valliere, if he is in the mood to hurt his wife or his mother. So they are the ladies that it was known for everyone that the king will choose to dance with, or to start the dance with his wife, Marie-Therese, or his mother, Queen Anna of Austria, or even Louise de la Valliere. No one but them. He must choose one of them. D'Artagnan waited nervously by the door to see which of the royal brothers would appear, Louis or Philippe. He didn't know which one of them will appear in the ballroom. Fouquet was also waiting. He was dressed all in gold. As we said in chapter 6, he asked the tailor to make for him a suit all in gold. Suddenly, the door was opened and the king appeared. From the very beginning, it was as clear as day to D'Artagnan that the one who appeared at the party was Philippe, not Louis. Why? Because he passed Louise without even looking at her. Then he was choosing his steps carefully. It means that he was going very slowly, as if he didn't know where he was going. Philippe couldn't choose the right partner to dance with, as he didn't know anyone in the party. So the one who appeared in the ballroom or in the celebration wasn't Louis, it was Philippe. Why couldn't D'Artagnan help Philippe find the right lady to dance with? Of course, D'Artagnan was the only one that Philippe knew in the party, or knew well at the party. But he couldn't talk to him. Why? Because it would be clear to everyone that he was one of the traitors who plotted against the king. It would be too dangerous for both Philippe and D'Artagnan. What mistakes did Philippe make at the party? Of course, Philippe made a very big mistake. This mistake let everybody know, or Fouquet especially knew, that he wasn't Louis, he was Philippe. He couldn't find the right woman to start the dance with, as every woman was putting on a mask on her face. So he couldn't choose the lady whom Louis wanted to dance with. Instead, he chose the lady whom Louis hated most. Who was the lady that Philippe chose to start the dance with? Who was this lady? She was an old favorite to Louis. He didn't like her at all. He kept her only at court because her parents were the Duke and Duchess of Nantes. Nantes is like a town in France. Louis would never dance with her. He preferred to dance with the servant to dance with her. He didn't if Louis was in the party, he wouldn't choose this girl to dance with ever because he hated her most. So what mistake did Philippe make at the party? He chose the lady whom Louis hated most to dance with. At this time, Fouquet moved towards Philippe. Towards means in the direction of Philippe, and shouted, "Arrest that man, arrest that man, he is an impostor. He wasn't the real king." D'Artagnan ordered two of his men to arrest Philippe. Of course, first D'Artagnan didn't want to show that he understood. He said to Fouquet, "I cannot arrest the king." But Fouquet said to him, "No, he isn't the king. He is an impostor. He wasn't the king." D'Artagnan, Fouquet, and their men searched every passage and room of the palace. As they were looking through the cellar, they heard a cry. It was Louis. Louis was crying in the cellar. For help, of course. Within seconds, Aramis, Athos, Porthos, and Louis were standing in front of D'Artagnan's men. Of course, they were having Louis tied up with them. Aramis spoke to Fouquet. So we have two sides now. One side, the three musketeers, Porthos, Athos, and Aramis, with them Louis tied up. And the second side, D'Artagnan, Fouquet, and their men. Aramis spoke to Fouquet and told him if he wanted his king alive, he had to let them leave the palace alive, and also give them a guarantee, means promise, that Philippe wouldn't be harmed. What did Aramis ask for in return for the release or freedom of Louis? So Aramis was ready to free Louis, but for one condition, or two conditions. First of all, to allow the musketeers, or allow Aramis, Porthos, and Athos to leave the palace safely, and to be given guarantee or promise that Philippe wouldn't be harmed. How can they get out of the palace? They must have horses to go out. And also, he told Fouquet that all the musketeers or the soldiers had to put down their guns and their swords. Fouquet couldn't risk the king's life. Also, after Aramis made a little cut at Louis' neck, Aramis let King Louis speak. He ordered Fouquet to let them go. King Louis said to Fouquet, "Let them go, or I will be killed." Horses were ready, and the gates were opened. Louis was released, and the three musketeers rode off into the night. D'Artagnan's men rode after them, but they couldn't catch them. Of course, D'Artagnan felt good when his men couldn't catch his friends, of course. Was the musketeers' plan to get rid of King Louis destroyed? Did they fail at their plan? We will see at chapter 8 what would or what will happen. I want you to listen to this audio.
Chapter 7. The King's Birthday Party.
Okay, Thank you for your time and goodbye.